I always find it interesting. There's a definite point where it stops being an animal and it becomes food. We've got the two items of meat, so we've got the rabbit and the partridge. I always think of Gollum when I do this. There is some acorn meal soaking, which will make some acorn bread.
Just a gorgeous texture, it's really good.
And the rest kind of depends on what we find. But that bit is so good. I find with foraging, if you set out after a particular thing, you sometimes come back disappointed. It's a case of being open to possibilities and options and then working with what you've got. It's a bit like a sort of natural version of Ready, Steady, Cook, if anyone remembers that programme, where a person would turn up with a bag of random ingredients and the chef would kind of put it together into something fun. I think people feel this void in their lives, really, especially now more people are living in cities. We're theoretically connected, but less connected to each other than ever before. And people are realising that sort of emptiness or that feeling that they're missing something, it's nature, and they're trying to get it back into their lives somehow. And these old skills are a great way to do that. My name's Sarah Day, and I also go by Memma the Cave Woman. My day-to-day work involves going into primary schools and meeting bunches of Year 3 children and teaching them how our ancestors lived. The other side of what I do is teaching these same skills to adults and young people as a form of nature connection and as actual functioning survival skills, and that's where the year course comes in. The year course covers a huge range of skills, everything from your basic survival skills, so food, shelter, water, fire, natural nav, first aid, all of those things, through to some more, much more crafty artisan type things. So we do pottery, we do basketry, because you need bags, you need methods of collecting things if you're a forager. We do trapping, making fish traps, making fishing gear, felting, weaving, spinning, even a bit of vegetable dyeing, finding and purifying water in nature, everything. The scope of what it covers is huge. The end goal for a lot of people is this expedition in Sweden, and that is basically living as a Mesolithic hunter-gatherer group. So that would be like 10,000 years ago after the Ice Age, for 10 days. And everything they take with them has to have been made themselves from natural materials. So they make their burden baskets to carry it all in, they make a felt blanket to sleep in, they can make a fur blanket if they wish to. They make their clothing, their fishing gear, their gathering baskets, and then they have to build a shelter, light a fire by friction. So it's a lot. I've said to both groups that we've had so far that really there's two journeys involved here. There's the outward one, there's the journey to Sweden and the travelling around the landscape, finding out what resources there are. There's that journey, but there is an element of it which is an inner journey as well. And people find out things about themselves. They find out what they will and won't put up with. They find out what they can do without. And they definitely find things on the course that I think they weren't expecting. Good things, which is really interesting to hear. And they change, people change, their confidence grows. We see personalities kind of emerge, people dealing with trauma as well. That's actually a big part of it. I think people are dealing with demons they've buried. There's so many sides to it. If you're going to go out and forage, it's very tempting to go for learning to identify the edible ones. You need to learn to identify the poisonous ones as well. When you're eating something you've foraged, you've identified, you are betting your life that you're right. And that's not to be taken lightly. I've heard some absolute horrors, really, not in terms of poisonings, but in terms of just really risky general rules being given out to people who don't necessarily have any good information to counteract it. So children often get told all red berries are poisonous, which is nonsense. If you believe that, then a strawberry's poisonous, a raspberry's poisonous. Hawthorn berries definitely aren't poisonous, but a lot of people think they are. That said, we've got some really dodgy red berries as well. You've got yew berries, you've got black bryony berries, honeysuckle berries, which are not great, but I don't think they'll kill you. There's a plant called lords and ladies, which causes like an instant burning sensation in your mouth, and children sometimes go for them because they're bright coloured and they look like sweeties. So as with any foraging really, if someone tries to give you a good general rule, like all red berries are edible if they've got this feature or blah blah blah, they're talking nonsense. Like, they're dangerous, don't listen to them. There's 2 rules. If in doubt, leave it out. And the famous one, I think, popularised by Pratchett actually, which is normally applied to mushrooms, but you can eat all mushrooms, some of them only once. We're so narrow-minded with food in this country. The range of things people will eat has shrunk.
Where you've got seeds, you generally have a bit of carbohydrate and other things. These are related to buckwheat, so you can include them in breads, you can include them in a sort of gruel of things. It's got a nice crunch to it.
In the last 100 years, we've gone from eating... There was all these other vegetables that were eaten on an almost daily basis, like turnips and swede and stuff, and now carrots, beans, broccoli, cauliflower. It's kind of it for most people. Maybe sweet corn from a tin, and we're missing out on a whole range of flavours and culinary possibilities, but also minerals and nutrients that just aren't in that narrow range of foods.
And what you can do, if you're really careful, is you can squeeze out this, excuse the state of my fingers, but this lovely nugget of fruit. And the reason you've got to do that is inside are all these itchy hairs. You can use them as itching powder. So kids in the countryside used to put them down each other's necks, and it's horrible. It's really, really horrible. You don't want to eat that. But that bit is so good. It's a bit like kiwi fruit, I would say, flavour-wise. I've just picked a load. I picked several kilos of them.
Our palates have got really, really boring as well, which puts people off a lot of forageables as well, because they can be unusual flavours. They're not always what we're used to, but you can get an appreciation for them pretty quickly, I think.
This is a method that might even go back as far as the Neanderthals. There is evidence of it, which is really cool. So we've got flint and pyrite. So there's iron pyrites, or you can use another rock called marcasite. You find this on the south coast and also along the east coast as well. And this is flint. So when the two are struck together, they make little sparks. They're not the hottest, they're not the brightest, but they are enough. And then the crucial ingredient, which certainly helps a lot, is this stuff, which is amadou, and it's the processed trama layer, so it's sort of the inner layer of certain bracket fungi, and the one that's particularly used grows on birch trees, but you can use others that are more common in the UK, and this stuff will catch like the vaguest of sparks and turn them into a little glowing ember, hopefully. This goes into this tinder nest. So I've got cattail fibre, which is from a reed, well, not really a reed, but a plant that grows in water. People call it bulrush, but that's actually not its name. Cattail or reed mates. And then this is just grass. I think there's some bark in there too. We transfer that to this, blow on it. This should get smokier and smokier until it bursts into flames. And then I've got some birch bark, which is full of natural oils, and the oil is called betulin, and that will then keep the fire going long enough and hot enough for it to light twigs and then work up through the fuel. rip this up and get this on sharpish. Very definitely dead, and what we need to do now is prep it. So it's a case of getting rid of these lovely feathers. You could skin it, but in terms of survival and just, you know, culinary niceness, you lose out on any fat that might be just in the skin there. These chest feathers are really beautiful. I always find it interesting. There's a definite point where it stops being an animal and it becomes food. And that's different for everyone, but you can see that difference in the way they handle it and the way they're looking at it. It's not that long ago that it was, you know, the done thing to go and buy a live chicken at market and do this all yourself. The main bit of meat is on the front of the bird here, so right now I'm not going to bother plucking the rest of it. I will use it for stock later. The wings, particularly larger wings, are really good for fanning the fire. So if you don't want to have to get down and blow on the fire, you can give them a good waft. And actually, when you get to doing metal work, you can literally use a goose wing. You don't need bellows, you don't need any really modern gear, you can literally use a bird wing. The feathers in here are a bit small to use on arrows. If this was a pheasant, we might be able to use them. But the bones in the wing here can be sliced up into little sections and used as beads, which is something our ancestors were certainly interested in. Right, we need to go and make a little flint tool now, just to prep this. There's not much cutting to do, but it's definitely easier with a tool of some sort. So this piece of flint is probably from the local area. It's not from far away. And I should be able to detach a nice sharp flake off this without too much trouble. Let me just get rid of that spiky bit. It's all about angles. Oh, there we go. There we go. Perfect. Right. Now, on this little bird here, the breastbone runs down the middle. There we go. Just cut down the middle. It's where you can often get a good idea of what they've been stuffing their faces with. Okay. But there we've got a nice little, basically a breast fillet of partridge. I'll just get rid of that feather there. And that can be roasted, you can wrap them in bacon, you can use it for anything you would use chicken for, really. It just needs either very quick cooking, we're talking seconds, or hours. There's nothing in between with game. Usually if you go for sort of 20 minutes, that's too long and it'll come out tough. And then for the rabbit, so you need to grab it like that, grab it by the back feet. The back feet can actually be quite dangerous. And then you're going to tip its head back as far as it can go, which dislocates the top vertebrae, and then at the same time push away from you. So it's that kind of motion. Now this has already been paunched or gutted. That's part of the procedure kind of out in the field, as it were, because you shouldn't leave rabbits with their guts in, but they do skin really easily. And in fact, you can do most of it without a tool. I always think of Gollum when I do this. And these were killed mid-winter, so well, late winter, January. And actually they're really fat, so it shows there's a good healthy population of them around. Of course, the skin can be used for making linings for clothing. The head can be used to get the brain to tan the skin. Most fur-bearing animals actually have just the right amount of brain to tan their own hide. I'm not sure it works with the bigger animals necessarily, things like horses and cattle, but it works with the smaller ones. Now, the only thing I need to do here is just take off these little feet. I could joint this up and we're good to go. So just going to get these back feet off.
And really it's only attached by that little tendon there. People like them for good luck charms. I've never really seen the point of it myself, but... And then I just... that twist, off it comes. Now the main bit of meat is just here, so I'm going to leave the front of the carcass for now. And that can be used for stock, along with the bits of partridge. So I'm just cutting up along the line of where the bottommost rib is. That meat there is better for stewing than what we're about to do, so I'll get rid of that for now. It goes blunt fairly quickly if you cut into bone by accident, but actually flint it's a joy to do butchery with. Especially on something this small, you've got a lot of control, whereas if it's got a handle in it, you've got more leverage and you tend to cut into things you didn't want. Now, I could just cook it like that. But I'd like it to cook a little bit more quickly, so I'm going to do a little trick to get the fillets out of here for us. There's a layer of tendon over the meat here, and on a larger animal that's actually what you collect to use as sewing thread, but on rabbits it's pretty small. And then I just get my thumb in there and push it away from the meat, almost squeegeeing it is how I describe it. And then hopefully if I can get in there, there we go. It's a nice little fillet of meat, free of tendons, free of bones, and it's really, really good. It's just like chicken, really. And rabbit doesn't need to be gamey. A lot of people say rabbit is really gamey and strong. It's only gamey and strong if it's been left with the guts in too long. Really, with rabbits, you should get the guts out within 20 minutes. Some game animals, you can, like feathered things, mostly you hang with the guts in. I don't know why. It's supposed to improve the flavour. I don't agree necessarily. But with rabbits, it's the way their digestive system works. If you do that, the meat just tastes absolutely rank and very, very gamey, and I don't like it. But if you gut them straight away, you've got a really beautiful ingredient to work with. So that's the meat we're going to cook now, and then these bits are going to go into stock or possibly go to the ferrets, depending on how I feel. And we've got this lovely pelt here as well. In general, I would say wildlife is pretty healthy. I mean, farmed stuff tends to just, it's like a school. If one kid gets a cold, they all get a cold, and the cold mutates and becomes worse. Wild animals, even those that hang about in groups, they tend to be pretty healthy. I mean, I've eaten rat, and it's not bad. This particular one was quite greasy, but that's because of what it had been eating. But yeah, rat, squirrel, presumably mouse, they're probably pretty tasty. But I recently made, what did I do recently? It was acorn bread. So it was acorn meal, which I collected a couple of autumns ago and processed, and then mixed that with a bit of normal bread flour, and that was gorgeous. We had it with soup, and it was kind of nutty and a bit like that really dark German bread, but with a completely different flavour. Yeah, we're going to do some of that later, hopefully. These ones are fairy ring champignons, which I've actually picked in the garden before. There's these large ones, that's a parasol mushroom. And these ones are known as wood ears. They're not the most attractive mushroom, but they really absorb flavour from whatever you cook them in. I really like them. So this is common mallow. It was actually fed, apparently, to ancient Egyptian slaves, and it thickens soups up. It's a relative of the plant where we get marshmallows from. We've also got here, I've got a bit of the mushroom stock that fell out. I've also got my acorn meal. So I'm going to try and make a little acorn bread, and we'll cook that on the rock. This is acorn meal that I collected back in the autumn, and that was processed by soaking in changes of water. One of the best ways to do it, actually, if you're in an urban environment and don't have a a really clean little stream or river to do it in is actually in the cistern of the toilet. Sounds bizarre, but every time you flush, clean water comes into there, which is tap water. You know, it's perfectly fine, and that will wash the tannins out of the acorns, leaving them perfectly edible and really nice to eat, in fact. So I'm just mixing this up into a dough. I'm hoping the underside of this is going to be really nice and hot. Yeah, that's looking good. And that's already starting to cook. I can feel it's not stuck to the rock, it's actually baking on the underside. This is the Alexanders we collected earlier, and I'm just going to break that into pieces and throw that in with the stock. When you say you can eat nettles at all, people get a bit funny, but actually one of the easiest and tastiest ways to cook them is to just flash them through the fire like that. Sometimes you can even hear a little sizzle, and what happens is the hairs fizzle away, and what you're left with is a non-stinging, hopefully, nettle that's cooked in its own juice. The best bit to eat is just the very end there. There we go. It's sweet, kind of earthy, and I can only sort of put it as it tastes like food. Some wild plants just taste green and you can take it or leave it, but that tastes like food. There's protein in there, there's a bit of carbohydrate. Loads of iron as well. Now, you have to be a little bit careful with these. If you cook them too quickly, they can explode. So what we really want is just hot ashes, and you cook it in its own shell. I'm going to just give that a little poke just to break the yolk there. So these should take 10 minutes maybe. And this little bread is... that's really good. It's got a really light, crisp texture. You'd think it would be really stodgy and heavy with the acorns in there. They make you think of rye flour, but that's not how it tastes to me at all. The closest I can think is I've got a friend who makes bread with hemp flour and soy flour, and it's just a gorgeous texture. It's really good. If you rush them, the top hole sort of seals over, and then they explode, which is not ideal. You can see it instantly kind of drawing away from the rock. That means the rock's good and hot. That's good. And that's the partridge. I'm going to put it skin side down because then the fat will hopefully melt onto the rock and stop it sticking. I've got some of this, I think this is three-cornered leek. It's one of the wild garlic relatives that shouldn't really be in this country, but it is. I've also got some bitter cress there, which is the same family as rocket, and just for fun, more because they're pretty than anything else, I have some little red dead nettle flowers, which taste slightly sweet and just look nice. Because even with wild food, you can still have fun with presentation. So that bread's looking good. Oh. Most game meat is fine served rare, and in fact purists, especially with the red meat things, they'll cook it to, till it's like a blue steak. But that's part of the rabbit. That's beautifully done. Cooked like this, it's really, really succulent, but if you try and do it in the oven, it often comes out super dry. Let's try it with the bread. It's mostly just the kind of umami taste of the mushrooms, but if you had a bit of salt you could throw in there, that would be amazing. And actually that's not dissimilar to what the students will be eating quite a lot of on the year course expedition in Sweden. Although hopefully with a bit of luck it'll have some fish thrown in there too and some berries. That's really good. This one did explode a little bit. That's what comes of trying to persuade them to cook more quickly than they want to. But you can see in there we've got this lovely smoky baked egg yolk. It's very considerate of nature to kind of package them for cooking like that. I think that with some of this peppery bitter cress is going to be really good as well. It's a bit like watercress. It's similar, it's the same family. 3-cornered leek in there too. It reminds me of an egg and cress salad. Similar flavours because cress is in that family too. That's a really nice springtime combination. Really good. Bushcraft is an umbrella term really that covers quite a few different areas, and they obviously overlap largely. So at one end you've got the full hardcore military survival, which is escape and evade and manage to survive, literally manage to exist. And there's a bit of trapping in there. It doesn't make you particularly comfortable. You'll be alive, but you'll probably be wet, cold and miserable. And it tends to be quite macho, and certain people are attracted to that. You've got the main umbrella term of bushcraft, which was popularised by people like Ray Mears and Mors Kochanski, and later, Bear Grylls and people like that. And is huge in the UK, it's very popular. And that's to do with living out in nature with limited equipment. But you might have some modern equipment like a metal billy can and a metal knife and a nice modern rucksack. But you've got the knowledge to make more of your equipment from natural things if you felt like it. And then there's the branch of things that we're working in with the year course, and which I work in my work with schools, which is what's known, and I don't like the term really, it has connotations in the UK that perhaps it doesn't in America, but primitive technologies or ancient technology would be a better term. And that's the real sort of earth skills, kind of indigenous skills. That's being part of nature, not separate from it, not travelling through it, not just managing to survive it and get away. It's living in nature to whatever extent you want, with some equipment that you've made yourself from modern things, or no modern equipment at all. There's a spectrum. I'm wearing modern trousers, but I've got a coat I made myself from a mixture of purchased and home tanned stuff. And obviously the further back in time you go, and the further you go towards those indigenous skills, the higher your skill level and the wider ranging your skills have to be. But I would say the closer you get to how we lived 10,000 years ago, and the closer you get to nature as well, the closer you get to what we are as humans. That's what it's about for me, and I think for a lot of the students who do the year course, that's the case as well.